So today we are going to discuss about electromagnetic waves. Very small chapter. We have already discussed about Faraday's law and Ampere's law. And if you remember those kinds of equations, those equations are of the form like this. Integration E dot dl equals to minus d phi b dt. What is phi b? It's the magnetic flux. Whereas another equation similar to that form is B dot dl equals to minus mu 0 epsilon 0 d phi e dt. Here phi is the electric flux. So if we compare these two equations, here is electrical part, which is the time derivative of magnetic field part. And here the integration, line integration of the magnetic part gives the time derivative of the electric flux. That means the change in electric flux gives us some magnetic field. Similarly, change in magnetic flux produces EMF or electric field. That means electric field and magnetic field both can produce the other phenomena. Electrical property can be produced by the magnetic property, as well as magnetic property can be derived from the electric fields. That means these two things are related to each other. Here is the equation where left hand is of E phi b. In place of phi b we can write B dot ds, like that thing. That means the left side has electric field and the right side had the magnetic field, or better to write rate of change of magnetic field, which is producing the electric field. Now from the electric field we can find out the EMF and all those things that we observe electric fields, and that equation gives us that the change in electric field also can produce the magnetic field. So the current carrying conductor can produce magnetic field surround it. So these kinds of things are basically we can discuss using these two equations only. From these two equations we can say that things that they are related, interrelated. So what is that? The varying electric field produces space varying magnetic field, and time varying magnetic field produces the space varying electric field. At different spaces there will be different electric field when we can vary the magnetic field with the time. So also from these kinds of equation we can find some different equations, which equations are not that important. Let us skip that equation. So the conclusion from these two equations we can draw is that the electric and the magnetic fields are sources to each other. That means একটা ইলেকট্রিক ফিল্ড আর ম্যাগনেটিক ফিল্ড যে কোনোটার জন্য ভ্যারি যদি করে, কোনোটা টাইম ভ্যারিং যদি হয়, ডিপেন্ড করে টাইমের উপর, তাহলে অন্য আরেকটা ফিল্ড তৈরি হতে পারে। দ্যাট মিন্স টাইম ভ্যারিং ম্যাগনেটিক ফিল্ড ক্যান প্রডিউস দ্য ইলেকট্রিক ফিল্ড, as well as the time varying electric field can produce the magnetic field. So electromagnetic wave is a wave in which electric and magnetic fields are perpendicular to each other and also perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. That means electromagnetic waves basically is the photon light These are also a kind of electromagnetic waves. When these kind of energies, a form of energy, propagates, what happens? Some electric field is produced, generated, and this is time varying and also space varying. It is varying with the time, like sine wave, alternate current, like those things. If the electric field varies, as well as some magnetic field will also produce, and they are interrelation. Produces the other, and hence the current, current not, the electromagnetic waves propagates perpendicular to the vibration of these two things, electric field and the magnetic field. So this is a definition. This says that this is a kind of wave where the electric and the magnetic fields are perpendicular to each other and also perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the wave. Now there are few properties that we have to remember. This chapter is very small chapter. There will be a 1 marks question or 2 marks question will come from this chapter. So you have to just read out that chapter and try to remember different spectrum of the waves, electromagnetic waves. So let us discuss some few properties of the electromagnetic waves. So here you see the electric field is varying with the x along the y direction. That means the electric fields oscillates in the xy plane, whereas the magnetic field varies in the xz plane. This is the electric field, this is the magnetic field. So basically electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. The maximum value of the magnetic field is here B0 and the maximum value of the electric field is E0. And the wave is propagating along the x direction. That means perpendicular to both the electric field and the magnetic field. So variation in the both electric and magnetic field occurs simultaneously. When electric field increases, magnetic field also increases. The magnetic, they both reaches the maximum value simultaneously and the minimum simultaneously. So the variations of the both electric and the magnetic fields occur simultaneously. Therefore, they attain their maxima and minima at the same place and at the same time. So this is very important thing. The direction of the electric and the magnetic fields are mutually perpendicular to each other, and as well as the direction of the propagation of the wave. Propagation of the wave is at that direction, and the vibrations of the electric field is perpendicular to that direction, and also magnetic field is perpendicular to that direction. Okay, so we can express the oscillations of the electric field along the z cap direction. And the magnetic field is oscillating along the k cap, whereas the propagation of the light or the electromagnetic wave is along the I cap direction. That means the unit vector along the x direction that I am trying to discuss. Now the electric field vector E and the magnetic field vector B are related by an equation which is this: C equals to E0 divided by B0, where C is the velocity of light, which is 3 into 10 to the power 9 meter per second. So basically is what, that the electric field, if we draw at correct units, then the maximum value of the electric field will be 3 into 10 to the power 9 times that of the magnetic field. So actually that will be very high value, and this will be very small value magnetic fields, these kinds of things. And also we have already discussed the velocity of light is equal to 1 by root over mu 0 epsilon 0. Let us remember one thing, that 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0, that's value is what? 9 into 10 to the power 9, and mu 0 by 4 pi was like 10 to the power minus 7. So if we alter this, what we get? 4 pi divided by mu 0, that is equal to 10 to the power 7. So if we multiply this by that equation, what we get is 1 by mu 0 epsilon 0. So this is 9 into 10 to the power 9 and 10 to the power 7. So this is 9 into 10 to the power 16. So if we just take square root of that thing, we get 3 into 10 to the power 8, which is the velocity of light. So c equals to 1 by root over mu 0 epsilon 0. So the velocity of light also can be found from these two kind of constant that we choose for one electric field and one for the magnetic field, epsilon 0 and the mu 0 in the free space or in the vacuum, what we can say. So the velocity of the electromagnetic wave in free space comes to be the velocity of the light, and that is 1 by root over mu 0 epsilon 0. So next, the velocity of the electromagnetic wave in the material medium will be 1 by root over mu 0 epsilon 0. That means it will depend on the medium. When those values are mu 0 and epsilon 0 in free space, that is the velocity of light, which is c, 3 into 10 to the power 8. But in other medium, other material, the velocity will be reduced to some values depending on the absolute permeability and the absolute permittivity of the material medium. It depends on the, that means the velocity of light uh, is constant at the vacuum, but in other mediums the velocity depends, and it also depends on their uh, actually frequency, because the wavelength or frequency, not frequency, wavelength, actually the permittivity of the medium and the permeability of the medium. And also, like superpositions of normal waves, electromagnetic waves also obey the principle of superposition. That means two waves propagating in a same space. One wave is suppose this, another wave is this. I'm just giving the electric part, electrostatic part, not the magnetic part of the electromagnetic wave, electric field part. So this is suppose E1 and this is E2. So there will be a resultant field generated by the vector sum of these two fields. So the electromagnetic waves obey the principle of superposition. That is basically very simple thing. Two sources, if placed together, the output in the surrounding region that we get is the contribution of the both of the sources. So that is what discussed here, that the electromagnetic waves obey the principle of superposition. Also, these waves carry energy as they propagate through the space. This energy is divided equally between the electric and the magnetic fields. Electric field lines and magnetic field lines, they occupy those kinds of things. Now, sometimes electromagnetic waves can transfer energy as well as momentum to the object placed on their path. If some blockage is found or tiny particles are there, they can interact with the electromagnetic wave. Electromagnetic wave, sometimes they passes through objects, sometimes the object block those electromagnetic waves, sometimes object can absorb the electromagnetic waves and get got heated. That means it's transferring the energy. As well as in the microscopic level or in the atomic level, they can transfer the momentum. Like sometimes it is possible that some electromagnetic waves comes and electron from the orbit get knocked out and get out of that material. So this happens due to the transfer of the momentum to the object. Okay. So this kind of phenomena we will observe in like photoelectric effect or other parts. So this is the just the ideas that what can be happen when an electromagnetic wave go through some medium. It can ionize the medium. It also possible. So basically these are the properties of electromagnetic waves. We are just discussing about the properties of the electromagnetic waves. So for the discussion of the optical effect of the electromagnetic wave, more significance is given to the electric field E. Therefore, electric field is called the light vector. We know that there are two vectors actually, electric field vector and the magnetic field vector, H or B, whatever. And from those kinds of things, we can get another vector which is known as the pointing vector. Actually, that gives us the direction of the propagation, because the electric field and the magnetic field, they are perpendicular to each other, and their cross product gives us a direction, which is the direction of the electromagnetic wave. So that is why this cross product will give us some vector, which vector is named as the pointing vector. But as you know, the electric field is dominating one, because the value of the electric field maxima E0 divided the magnetic field maxima B0 is the velocity of light, that means 3 into 10 to the power 8. So this is the dominating one in the electromagnetic wave. Dominating means that the value is higher, that is why it's the velocity of light multiplied by the magnetic field. So the electric field is called the actually light vector, but the direction is along the pointing vector, that means perpendicular to both electric field and the magnetic field. Electromagnetic waves do not require material medium to travel. You know that electromagnetic wave do not require anything, but sound wave, like those kinds of things, mechanical waves, they need the medium to pass. Now an oscillating charge which is a non-zero acceleration can produce electromagnetic waves. That's very important thing. When the acceleration happens, there is a change in current, and change in current produces magnetic field also, and those variations of electric field and magnetic field simultaneously gives us the rise of electromagnetic wave. Now there is an experiment which is known as the Hertz experiment. There is a copper or zinc plate and two metal rods and metal spheres are there, and there is some induction coil. One is primary coil, another one is the secondary coil. So we are moving to the Hertz experiment. Basically what we are discussing today is about the electromagnetic wave. Electromagnetic wave, that means there is electric part and magnetic part. That means we have to simultaneously create electric field and magnetic field, and that will produce some electromagnetic wave that will propagate through the medium, and that will propagate with the velocity of light. And there are few properties, other properties of the electromagnetic waves that we have already discussed. But how can we simultaneously create these kinds of oscillations that can produce the electric field and magnetic field, varying electric field and magnetic field simultaneously? For that, the Hertz experiments comes to play, and there is a setup. The copper or zinc plates are kept parallel, separated by almost 60 centimeter. That can be very. The metal sphere are slided over the metal rods to have a gap of 2 to 3 centimeter. That means the gap is not that much. Induction coil supplies high voltage of several thousand volts. There are some primary coil, that means this is like that, and there is a secondary coil, and there is some current, this oscillation current, electric field, magnetic field. This varying electric and magnetic field produces some electromagnetic waves generated from these kinds of things. So basically these separated plate, these are like capacitor type of thing, and there is coil, so inductor type of thing. So this LC combination, you know the LC oscillator, we can produce a certain frequency from an LC oscillator in the LC circuits that we have discussed previously in magnetic induction chapters. So there is another ring. There are two spheres also, S1 prime and S2 prime. These rings are, when electromagnetic wave comes from that and hit there, they can detect this. So open metallic ring of diameter 0.7 meter having a small metallic spheres act as detector. So what happens, due to the high voltage, the air in the small gap between the sphere gets ionized. This provides the path of the discharge of the plates. A spark begins to pass between the spheres. And due to high frequency oscillations of charges occurs on the plates, the result in high frequency oscillating electric field in the vertical gap of S1 and S2. That gap, there is a high frequency oscillating electric field. And these oscillating electric field also produces an oscillating magnetic field of the same frequency set up in the horizontal plane and perpendicular to the gap between the spheres. Because we know that we need varying electric field, and the magnetic field must be at perpendicular. Otherwise, there will be no electromagnetic wave will produce. But we are producing this kinds of thing by the Hertz setup. In that setup, we have used our electric and magnetic field such a way that electric field and the magnetic field produced there are perpendicular to each other. So these oscillating electric and the magnetic field constitute the electromagnetic waves. These electromagnetic wave produced are radiated from the spark gap, and as electromagnetic wave they passes. And the detector is held in a position such that the magnetic field produced by the oscillating current is perpendicular to the plane of the coil, and the resultant electric field induced by the oscillating magnetic field causes the ionizations of air in the gap between the spheres, that of the detector spheres. So the conducting path becomes available for the induced current to flow across the gap, and this causes the spark to appear at the narrow gap. It was observed that the spark was most intense when the sphere S1, S2 and the S1 prime S2 were parallel to each other. This was a clear evidence of the polarization of the electromagnetic wave. That means that electromagnetic waves are proceeding in a certain direction, not at any random direction. So these kinds of things happens. Now the most important thing that you should try to remember, the electromagnetic spectra. There are different kind of ranges available. The visible spectrum, that's frequency is 4 into 10 to the power 14 hertz to 8 into 10 to the power 14 hertz, or in angstrom 7, basically this is 4000 angstrom to 8000 angstrom. If the wavelength of the electromagnetic wave is in this region, then that photons are visible to us as light, visible light. This is the light or the visible spectrum. That means in between that, in that region, there are VIBGE, violet, these kinds of things. These kinds of lights or colors are there: violet, indigo, green, blue, yellow, orange, red. And this red has a wavelength of 8000 angstrom, whereas the violet has 4000 angstrom. If the photon or the light that or electromagnetic wave that is coming has a higher wavelength, then those lights are known as infrared waves, and less than that of the 4000 are known as the ultraviolet. That means this is less energetic, and when we coming to the lower sides, they are much more energetic because their frequency is increasing but the wavelength is decreasing from top to bottom. So radio waves, they are of higher wavelengths from few kilometers to 0.3 meters. Then comes the microwaves, and we can use the radio waves in the radio and the TV broadcast. Similarly, microwaves are used in radar and different kinds of analyses. And light or the visual spectrum is for our the optical instruments. Is daily life we use the lights. Ultraviolet ray, and much more energetic is the X-ray, and the most energetic light rays are the gamma rays. And these kinds of gamma rays are used to basically find the astronomical objects. So in astronomical researches, we use the gamma ray astronomy. Different kinds of telescopes are there. Also, X-ray astronomy is also there. So these kinds of waves, they are wavelengths, they are frequency, and they are uses. You should go through these kinds of things in any kind of book.